good? We're good there? Perfect. Okay. Thank you, and good afternoon. I'm Mike Farnworth, Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm speaking from the territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. And I'd like to thank Katrine Conroy, Minister of Forests, Deputy Chief John Haugen of the Lytton First Nation, Rob Schweitzer, Director of Fire Centre Operations with the BC Wildfire Service, and Peter Brack, Executive Director, Regional Operations with Emergency Management BC, for joining virtually today. First, I'd like to turn it over to Minister Conroy for an update on the current situation.
Thank you, Minister Farnworth, and thank you all for joining us today. And I want to start by recognizing the traditional Indigenous territories we are all speaking from today. Our hearts go out to the Lytton First Nation as well as the local First Nation as well as the local community. I sympathize with how hard the day has been and everything you've already been through. It really is challenging, but we're up to the challenge. All hands are on deck. We will deal with this wildfire. As of noon today, the Nohaman Creek fire was an estimated 800 hectares in size. It is located approximately 1.7 kilometers northwest of Lytton on the west side of the Fraser River. At this time, it is not posing a threat to Lytton as it is moving away from the town. The fire is classified as out of control, which is a technical term used nationally that means the fire is continuing to spread, which means our BC Wildfire Service crews are applying aggressive suppression and control tactics. I can tell you that last night the fire jumped the Fraser River, but fire crews were able to contain it and stop further spread on that side of the river. The fire moving away from town is demonstrating rank 3 and 4 fire behavior. Typical characteristics of a rank 4 fire include smoke that is gray to black. The fire moves at a moderate to fast rate on the ground, and there are short aerial bursts and short range spotting. Heavy smoke, accessibility, and terrain are presenting challenges for our crews. 3 21-person crews and 3 initial attack crews are on site. We also have structure protection specialists there to support the firefight. These crews are being supported by 6 helicopters, 3 air tankers, and a bird dog plane. And that's a little plane that coordinates all of the firefighting activities from the air. In total, 80 personnel are on site, including other operational and support personnel. An incident management team has been deployed and will assume command of the incident. The response effort involves multiple provincial ministries, all levels of government and partner organizations. We're working hard to keep British Columbians safe. Our crews and partners are experts in fighting wildfires that are aggressive and in many cases fast-moving and unpredictable. There are currently 19 fires burning throughout the province. For comparison, on this day last year, we had 309 active wildfires. And I want to take a moment to speak to those on the fire lines, the air crews, the contractors, industry partners, and everyone else who was part of the emergency response on this incident, and others around the province, as well as up in the Yukon. I know that many of you are feeling the impacts from last year's catastrophic wildfire season. And as you are heading out to incidents this summer, you may be challenged not only physically, but mentally as well. Please know that the province and the citizens of BC have so much respect and appreciation for you and the dangerous, highly technical, and incredibly demanding work you do to protect human life and safety. On behalf of all British Columbians, I can't thank you enough for all that you do. As we move into the second half of July and into August, we will begin to experience more typical summer weather. The heat will increase wildfire risk, and we can anticipate seeing more fire on the landscape in the coming weeks. Be prepared, have a plan for wildfire, and stay informed. For those wanting the latest information, updated information on www.bcwildfire.ca, and this includes the Nohaman Creek fire, which is now a wildfire of note. You can also find the information through the BC Wildfire Service mobile app. By working together, we will get through the 2022 fire season. Thank you.
Thank you, Conroy. I know it's been devastating to be here today speaking about another fire impacting the Lytton community and area. I know that this is an extremely stressful and emotional situation as the community is still working towards rebuilding after last year's devastating Lytton Creek fire. And I know that this has been challenging on BC Wildfire Service crews, many who responded to last year's incident. I want to let you know that the province is here to support the Lytton First Nation and everyone affected by this fire. At this point, we can confirm that the Nahomin Creek wildfire, which started 1.7 kilometers outside of the Lytton First Nation, has grown significantly in the last 24 hours. We have received reports that structures have been lost yesterday and that there were additional structure losses today. However, there have been no reported injuries. Lytton First Nation and the Thompson-Nicola Regional District have implemented evacuation orders and evacuation alerts for properties in the area. At this moment, an incident management team from BC Wildfire Service are assuming control of the fire and are deploying resources as expediently and as appropriately with extensive resources on the ground and in the air already. The resources being deployed include 3 21-person unit crews and 3 initial attack crews are on site. We also have structure protection specialists there to support the fight. These crews are being supported by 6 helicopters, 3 air tankers, and a bird dog plane. In total, 80 personnel are on site, including other operational and support personnel. Access to the fire, weather conditions and terrain have proved to be a challenge, but BC Wildfire is putting all resources towards this fire. While this fire is growing, models indicate that at this point it should not impact other communities. While firefighters are doing everything in their power to slow the spread, the province, Emergency Management BC, and nearby communities are supporting displaced residents with emergency support services. These services, which include access to food, lodging, and clothing, will be provided until the evacuation orders have been rescinded. Additionally, the toll this fire can have on the mental health of affected residents can be vast and long-lasting. That's why we're ensuring the proper mental health supports are available to those who need them. My ministry is working closely with the Lytton First Nation, First Nations Health Authority, and First Nations Emergency Services Society to ensure that everyone is supported. Meanwhile, the First Nations Health Authority is coordinating mental health and traditional supports in coordination with the Lytton First Nation and reception centres. Reception centres have been set up in Cache Creek and Lillooet. Evacuees can self-register using the Evacuee Registration and Assistance tool at ess.gov.bc.ca. Again, evacuees can register at ess.gov.bc.ca. It's critically important that residents in the region follow directions from their First Nation or local government. And if you're placed under evacuation order, please leave immediately. We're also asking residents to prepare yourself and your family for any potential fires and avoid all activity that may result in a wildfire. Yesterday afternoon, TELUS informed the province that there was a widespread cell phone and landline reception outage from Boston Bar to Spence's Bridge. We were informed today that as of 4:30 this morning, the cell towers and landlines were repaired and fully restored. The outage was not related to the fire. At this time, again, we're asking residents to continuously check for updates from their First Nation, local government, the province, and media as this situation evolves. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Lytton First Nation Deputy Chief John Hogan to provide an update.
Good afternoon, Conroy and Farnworth. Yes, and there's so much devastation from wildfires each year, and we always have to be prepared. We're doing our best to ensure the safety of our community members, and like Minister Conroy said, we are totally grateful for the initial attack crews and the wildfire specialists. They've been instrumental in containing and stopping the fire at the front line. So it's been really daunting. Sometimes there's no power here and we're running short of water on the east side of the Fraser River. And without the ferry and service, it's hard to get resources to the west side to assist with battling the fire. So I want to thank those that have been able to move equipment and resources by the sea and rail south of Lytton across the Fraser. And it's been challenging to work with other agencies, but the work is getting done, and that's the main thing. So I really want to express the same as Minister Farnworth, that people keep in touch and stay prepared for all emergencies and listen to the evacuation orders. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Hogan. And now I will turn it over to the moderator to take questions.
Thank you, Minister. And we will meet you on the phone. Please make sure that you press *1 to enter the queue. And please have your phones unmuted. You will not be audible until we call your name. We have no questions lined up today. No, we have one. And the first question comes from Tim Petruk, Castanet. Tim, go ahead, please.
Hey, I'm wondering if you could give a little more information, maybe Deputy Chief Hogan, about the structures lost.
Sure, there's been confirmed at least 6 residential buildings have been lost and upwards of 9 at this time. And we're working with trying to contact those community members that have lost homes, and it's devastating. So we have to be mindful of how we approach them and confirm those losses.
Do you have yeah, go ahead.
We do have a helicon reconnaissance that was in the air at 1300, and so they would be bringing further information. And there was an emergency management BC call simultaneous to this at 2.
Tim, do you have a follow-up?
Oh, that's great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question comes from Amy Smart CP. Amy, go ahead, please.
Hi there. I'm wondering if you can explain the conditions a bit more. I know you mentioned there's no power sometimes and no water. Is that affecting your ability to contact or reach residents, or do you feel like everyone's gotten the message that they might need to evacuate?
Yes, we've pretty much contacted everyone, and we have a robocall, robo-texting system that has been instrumental in notifying people. And cell service is back up, as Minister Farnworth had mentioned, so that's a blessing, and we have to ensure that we keep good communication open with our members.
Amy, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, thanks. I know you mentioned the fire is moving away from the village of Lytton, but obviously there's a lot of people who live in the surrounding area. Is it moving toward any other homes or properties?
This time, the information is that the fire is not moving or threatening other communities. The TNRD and Lytton First Nation have put in place the evacuation orders that they believe are necessary, as well as any evacuation alerts that may be required.
Thank you. The next question comes from Susan Lazarak, Vancouver Sun. Susan, go ahead, please.
Well, hi, I was wondering if somebody could just maybe itemize how many evacuation orders there have been and how many people are involved in the evacuation orders.
I'd put that to Peter Bachrach to give the specifics. Peter?
Yes, can you hear me okay there?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so just let you know, as far as the TNRD, the latest we have reported is that there's about 24 properties for an evac order on a Spencer Road area, and evac alert for around 31 properties. And for the Lytton First Nation, we have a long list of evacuation order for reserve numbers that I would just encourage or direct media to the Lytton First Nation website that lists that and the evacuation order for a number of reserves. So bottom line is there's a number of properties and areas impacted. And just to add on to that, most recent update we have from some of the communities regarding evacuations, and this would be the residents that have registered for ESS in some of the communities. We have reports of approximately 40 evacuees registered in Cache Creek and 70 evacuees registered in Lillooet. So that's the latest. Hope that answers your question. Thanks.
Thank you. Susan, do you have a follow-up?
And does this affect any, are there any ranches? Are there any farm animals involved in the evacuation orders?
I'll ask Peter Brack to respond to that.
Yes, we have heard reports of livestock of high value are very important to communities, of course, or residents that live in the area. Ministry of Agriculture has been linked in on the daily coordination calls that we're having, and our reports so far is that Lytton First Nation and the other agencies involved supporting each other are linked in on that priority to ensure that livestock are being addressed and coordinated in a fashion that's supporting the people that are impacted right now.
Thank you. Those are all the questions we have today. Thank you all for joining us.